Hi, Frontline family and friends. Today's Moravian passage is Luke 23, verses 32 to 43, and it's the crucifixion. We finally get there. The first thing that struck me, bowled me over, was the fact that the whole process of crucifixion was summarized in 3 words. They crucified him. No detail, no gory explanation, no appeals for sympathy or empathy or disgust or how could they do that responses. Just they crucified him. And I kind of imagine Jesus whispering in Luke's ear as he's writing this gospel, Luke, it's not about me, it's about them. And somehow Jesus, even in his crucifixion, as Luke records it, manages to absolutely minimize the pain and the agony, the anguish, the separation from the Father, the physical bleeding to death, the suffocating, all the pain. He manages to minimize it and turn his direction and affection on those who are around him. If I was to summarize this passage in one phrase, it would be this. Jesus, our inspiration. Jesus, you are our inspiration. Firstly, what do we hear? He absolutely loves the unlovable. He values the undervalued. All through his life, he values those who are undervalued, like women, like children. He loved the unlovable, like lepers, prostitutes, tax collectors, the poorest of the poor. And now at his death, he is surrounded by 2 common criminals. Even in his death, he finds his life immersed with those who deserve no mercy and yet receive ultimate mercy. He loves the unlovable. Jesus, our inspiration. How often do we find ourselves just wanting to surround ourselves with people like us? Secondly, he forgave the unforgivable. As he hangs on the cross, he cries out, Jesus, forgive them. They don't know what they are doing. How often do we hold on to unforgiveness? How often do we feel badly treated and we let resentment and even bitterness grow in our hearts? Instead of being able to say, I forgive them. They don't know what they do. Instead of judging their motives, we just say, they're probably just broken people like me. They probably haven't set out to be as difficult or as painful as they have been. I forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. He forgave the unforgivable. And thirdly, even though he was never a victim, he knew when to accept the unacceptable, not to defend himself in the face of the vilest accusations. He had it from the Romans, he had it from the religious leaders, and he even had it from one of the criminals who just hurled abuse at him. He refused to defend himself. Never a victim, he said, no one takes my life from me, I give it up freely. But he knew when the time came to accept the unacceptable and refuse to defend himself. And how often do we make such a meal of trying to defend ourselves? Jesus, you are our inspiration. What was the outcome of all of this? Well, obviously there's a global plan of salvation being outworked. His blood shed for our forgiveness, our freedom, our fulfillment, our joy and our peace with God. That's huge, and we can't even touch on that today. But I want to land on one specific outcome. It was this, that in the midst of all of his pain and agony, one of those criminals turns towards God, turns towards Jesus and says, I know I'm a sinner. I know I deserve all this, but you don't deserve this. You're righteous. Would you remember me, Jesus? Remember me in your kingdom. And what does Jesus say? Today you will be with me in paradise. In that place where we will go when we die, before the new heavens and the new earth arrive, but somehow still in the perfect, beautiful, amazing, love-filled presence of God that we might call heaven. We will be with him. And so that criminal will be there too. We don't know his name, but we know he'll be there. And Jesus had time, even in his own agony and suffering, to recognize the Father was drawing someone to himself, what we would call a person of peace. In the most unlikely of circumstances, Jesus found someone who found favor with God and welcomed him in. We talk a lot about the ways of Jesus in mission and discipleship. What an amazing person Jesus is. Jesus, you are our inspiration. Be blessed today as you think about Jesus at the cross.